I was just scrolling through Craigslist one lazy Saturday, looking for a decent couch to replace the lumpy thing I had in my living room. Budget was tight, so when I stumbled upon this ad for a free couch, I thought I hit the jackpot. The dude claimed he was moving out and needed to get rid of it ASAP. Sounded too good to be true, but hey, free stuff is free stuff. I shot the guy a message, and to my surprise, he responded pretty quick. Gave me his address and told me to swing by that evening. Seemed legit enough, so I hopped in my car, excited about my potential new comfy throne. The place was in a quiet neighborhood, nothing sketchy. I parked my car and headed towards the house. As I approached, I noticed the front door was slightly ajar. Odd, right? But being the naive optimist I am, I figured the dude just wanted some fresh air or was in the middle of moving stuff around. I cautiously pushed the door open and stepped inside. It was dark, like really dark. No lights on, just the faint glow of the street lamps filtering through the windows. "Hello?" I called out, feeling a bit stupid doing so. No response. I took a deep breath and decided to explore a bit. The place was eerily quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your footsteps sound like thunder. I made my way through the living room, and that's when I saw it. The promised couch. It looked decent enough, a bit worn, but hey, it was free. Just as I was about to inspect it, I heard a noise, a creak from upstairs. My heart started doing this weird dance in my chest. I strained my ears, hoping it was just the old house settling. But then I heard it again. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Panic started to set in. I tiptoed towards the stairs, hoping to catch a glimpse of who was up there. The air got thicker with every step. I hesitated at the bottom of the staircase, debating whether to bail or confront whoever was up there. I mustered up the courage and started climbing. The footsteps got louder. My mind raced through all the horror stories I'd read online. I wished I had paid more attention to those warnings. As I reached the top of the stairs, I saw a faint light coming from one of the rooms. I cautiously approached and peeked inside. My blood turned to ice. There were two guys wearing masks huddled around something on a table. My brain couldn't process it at first, but then I saw the tools, pliers, a blowtorch, and other things I couldn't even identify. I stifled a gasp, my heart pounding in my ears. They hadn't noticed me yet. I stepped back, my mind racing. I needed to get out, to call for help, to escape whatever twisted situation I had stumbled into. But before I could make a move, a floorboard creaked beneath me. They looked up and their eyes locked onto mine. Time stood still for a moment, and then everything went crazy. I turned and sprinted down the stairs, adrenaline pumping through my veins. Behind me, I could hear them giving chase. I burst out of the front door, not bothering to close it behind me, and ran like my life depended on it, which, let's be honest, it probably did. I didn't dare look back until I reached my car. They were still following, but I managed to jump in and peel out of there like a bat out of hell. I drove straight to the police station, my hands shaking on the wheel. I told them everything. About the Craigslist ad, the free couch, the dark house, and the masked men. They took it seriously, but they warned me that these kinds of things were happening more often. Scammers using free stuff to lure unsuspecting victims into dangerous situations. I never found out what those guys had planned for me. Maybe it was just a sick joke, or maybe something far more sinister. All I know is I dodged a bullet that night, and I'll never look at a free Craigslist ad the same way again. I remember that day like it was yesterday, even though it's been a couple of years now. I saw this ad on Craigslist, the one about a nanny gig. Seemed legit at first. The ad said they were a busy family and needed someone to look after their kid while they were at work. I thought, hey, why not? Little extra cash and all. The address they gave me was in a decent neighborhood. Not too fancy, but not run down either. I got there and the house looked normal enough. Just a regular suburban home. I rang the doorbell, and this woman opened the door. She looked nice, about mid-30s, dressed pretty casual. We chatted a bit, and she seemed like a regular mom. She led me inside, showed me around, and introduced me to the kid. Cute little girl, about 5 years old. The mom gave me a quick rundown of the daily routine, and everything seemed normal. But as the days went by, things started getting weird. First off, the mom was always around. I mean, I get it, it's her house, but it felt like she never left. She'd sit in the living room watching TV, but her eyes were always on me. Creepy, right? And then there were the rules. No friends over, no leaving the house, not even for a walk around the block with the kid. It was like I was on lockdown. One day she handed me this weird contract thing. It had all these clauses about confidentiality and not talking to anyone about the job. I didn't think much of it at the time, just figured she was a bit overprotective. But looking back, it was very odd. Things took a darker turn when I noticed strange men coming in and out of the house at all hours. They never said anything to me, just gave me this creepy vibe. I started feeling uneasy, like I was being watched all the time. I tried talking to the mom about it, but she brushed it off, said they were just friends. One night after putting the kid to bed, I overheard hushed conversations in the living room. It sounded like some shady business deal. I couldn't make out all the details, but they were talking about money and transactions. I was starting to connect the dots, realizing I might be in way over my head. That's when I decided to do some digging. I snooped around the house when they were out, looking for any clues. In the mom's office, I found a computer with some messed up stuff on it. Lists of names, dollar amounts, and locations. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I was in the middle of something way darker than I ever imagined. I wanted to reach out to the police, but I didn't want to do it from the house. I was scared they'd catch me, and who knows what would happen then. So I packed up my things and left during one of the mom's errands. I found a nearby coffee shop and called the cops, telling them everything I knew. The police took it seriously. They investigated the house and the people involved. Turns out it was a sex trafficking ring. The mom was the mastermind, luring in unsuspecting people like me to cover up their illegal activities. Was I going to be the next victim? It sent shivers down my spine knowing I had been right in the middle of it all. The investigation led to arrests and the kid was placed with a safe family. It was a relief, but I couldn't shake the trauma of it all. I learned a hard lesson about trusting Craigslist ads and thinking twice about the people you let into your life. I still have nightmares sometimes, replaying those moments in my head. It's a constant reminder that evil can hide in plain sight, behind a normal-looking front door in an ordinary neighborhood. So if you ever think about responding to a Craigslist ad, just be careful. You never know what kind of nightmare you might be stepping into. Hey y'all, I gotta tell you about this messed up trip me and my buddies took to this cabin we found on Craigslist. Man, it started out like any other weekend getaway. We were just looking for a cheap spot to chill in the woods, away from the city grind, you know. But little did we know we were about to step into a real-life horror movie. So we found this cabin online. The pics looked legit, rustic charm surrounded by trees and not too far from a lake. Perfect for a bros weekend. We shot a message to the owner, a dude named Rick, and he replied faster than I could shotgun a beer. We were excited and the price was right, so we packed our bags and hit the road. The drive was long, winding through dense woods. No cell service, just the GPS guiding us deeper into the unknown. Finally, we pulled up to this cabin. It's a bit more run down than the pics, but hey, we're not picky. Rick, the owner, is there to greet us. He's this tall, lanky guy with a weird smile. He hands us the keys, mumbles something about the best fishing spots, and disappears into the trees. The first night was chill. Beers, cards, and some lame ghost stories. We crashed early, the creaks of the old cabin keeping us up a bit, but nothing too crazy. The next day, we decided to explore the area. That's when things got weird. We found this old shed in the woods. It looked like it hadn't been touched in years. Rusty tools, broken furniture, and a weird smell that made my stomach turn. We shook it off, blaming it on some dead animal or something. But the unease lingered. That night, things took a darker turn. We were sitting around the fire, and that's when we heard footsteps. Not the usual sounds of the forest. These were deliberate, rhythmic. We grabbed our flashlights, scanning the darkness. But there was nothing, just the trees and the unsettling silence. We shrugged it off as some animal, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching us. I tried to play it cool, crack jokes, but inside, I was on edge. The guys laughed it off, but I could see it in their eyes. They felt it too. As the night dragged on, the footsteps got closer. We huddled in the cabin, locking all the doors and windows. Every creak, every snap of a twig outside sent shivers down our spines. We were convinced someone was out there messing with us. We decided to confront Rick, the cabin owner. We drove to the address he gave us, but it led us to an abandoned shack in the middle of nowhere. Panic set in. Who the hell did we rent this cabin from? Back at the cabin, things went from bad to worse. We could hear whispers outside, voices muttering in the darkness. I called out, asking who was there, but there was no response. Just the haunting echoes of our own fear. That's when we noticed it. The cabin windows were fogging up. Someone was breathing on them from the outside. We armed ourselves with whatever we could find, ready to defend our turf. The night turned into a twisted game of cat and mouse. Hours passed, the tension thick in the air. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the woods. It wasn't one of us. It was the unmistakable sound of terror. We froze, listening to the forest swallow the scream. We decided we had enough, grabbed our stuff and booked it out of there. No goodbyes, no explanations, just the sound of our car tearing through the dark woods. We didn't stop until we hit the nearest town with cell service. We reported the whole thing to the police. They went to check out the cabin, but when they got there, it was empty. No sign of Rick, no evidence of anyone else. It was like the whole nightmare had vanished into thin air. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that someone was out there in those woods watching us. Maybe it was a sick prank, maybe it was something more sinister. All I know is that Craigslist cabin was the closest I ever came to a real-life horror movie, and I ain't going back to those woods anytime soon.